Yo, what's going on, guys? Trey back again here to bring you another video. This one's going to be a review of The Walking Dead Season 2, Season Finale, Episode 13, called Beside the Dying Fire. Beside the Dying Fire. So, this episode, I think, overall was absolutely, positively amazing. I mean, the last episode, I've said this before in my last review, by the way, this will contain spoilers for those of you who are worried about that. Shane's death really could have been the season finale of the show. I wouldn't have been disappointed if, that was the last episode, they kill Shane, and then this happens at the beginning of season 3 as the premiere. Either way, I wouldn't have been disappointed. I would have been happy, whichever direction they went with it. I thought that this episode, in comparison, it was a really, really good episode, worthy of a season finale for sure. There's no question about that. A lot of people have been complaining, for a while, ever since the beginning of season 2, because we had a lull in terms of zombie action from about season 2 episode, I want to say episode 2, episode 3, on up to about, well, let's see. There was zombie action, in and between the episodes, but there wasn't too much. There was a lot of episodes where there was only one zombie here or there. We got some good zombie action and save the last one where Shane shoots Otis in the leg. And then after that there was, let's see, trying to think. We had the incident with the barn, pretty much dead already when the barn, with the zombies come out. But we haven't seen, since the season premiere, a huge amount of zombies like this. I don't know if we've ever seen this many zombies in a scene. I mean, this was just something amazing. Like, the beginning of this was the best intro of any episode of The Walking Dead so far. This was on par with in season 1, where we get to see Shane at the hospital, where Rick is in the hospital bed, and he props the bed with the the mattress bed type thing, and then there's Rick in the hospital, and then he and it's a flashback from I think it was at the end of season 1. I'm pretty sure the last episode of season 1, the season finale there. This one was equal to that, in my opinion, in terms of coolness, because it comes down to you got all these walkers there. Well, how did they get there? How did they get to the farm? Like, there's this army of walkers that's just walking, and it seems kind of ridiculous. But then when they show it from the intro, and you see the helicopter flies over the city. By the way, I love the shots of the city. Anytime we get to see zombie apocalypse, cityscape with the zombies inside the city, I love it. I absolutely love it. We see the helicopter go over, and then you've got the zombies, they kind of, and then they start walking. Similar to in Land of the Dead, where they use the fireworks. If you guys have seen that, basically, they distract the zombies with fireworks. They shoot fireworks up, and the zombies just kind of, and they just kind of like, get mesmerized by it, paralyzed. They just stand there and watch the fireworks and, that kind of thing. But in this, we got the helicopter goes over, they start walking, and it's kind of cool because it fits with the comic book, the description of what happens when, like, how do these herds come about? How do you get a herd, like an army of zombies, just walking in a direction? And what the explanation is, basically a character in the comic books later on, his name's Eugene. He's an ex-high school chemistry teacher or something like that, science teacher. And he basically says that they're like a force of nature, A zombie will start walking, and of course there's tons of zombies everywhere. There's walkers everywhere. So what happens is that a couple of them will, start walking in a direction because of some reason. Maybe they heard something. Maybe, they want food, so they just start walking. And then others will see them, maybe bump into them, and, hear them going, and then we'll join up with them. And then as the group gets bigger, other little groups will see them walking, and, we'll be like, what are they walking? Where are they going? And then they will join the group, and they will continue to walk. So you have, it starts off small. You've got like a helicopter or something that starts it, and then the other zombies, just all smaller groups, attach, and then before you know it, you've got this freaking army, and they're just walking like a force of nature. Very cool. There's one scene in the forest in particular where you see, I think it's in the forest, it's pretty dark, and there's, the main group, and then you see a smaller group on the side of walkers, and they join the main group, and then they keep walking. And I just thought that was like, man, that was so cool. I just thought that was the coolest thing ever, because it brings us back. It's like, well, how did, why are there so many zombies together? This is why. The helicopter, and then they start, and then like a force of nature, they just build and build and build, and before you know it, they're sort of out there somewhere. They start hearing noises. They start coming towards the noises, and then that last gunshot they hear from Carl. And you got the zombie from last, or from this episode. He looks up, and then they all start walking towards the farm. So very cool. I also like the parts on the fences where they're all up against the fences, and they're kind of like all getting pushed. And with enough force, they break through the fences, which is, I think, is pretty realistic. I mean, if you have that many walking back to back, like 10 back, let's say, you get into the type of situation where it's like a concert, where you have like a crowd and they're pushing and pushing. The person at the front could get crushed if there's so many people pushing, at concerts. That's the thing about concerts, by the way, if any of you guys, just a rule of thumb. If you go to a concert, try not to go, if you're on the floor section, don't go at the front, because what happens is you get pushed against the girder, the barrier, and everybody behind you's pushing. You get it's terrible, because you're just stuck there the whole time. You're just like, and especially during some good songs, you can't get out. So, that was just really cool, where you see all the zombies, and then it starts to break, and they just all start walking through, just, aimlessly walking towards it. And, man, such an action-packed episode. So, continuing on from there, we've got the group is like, WTF, they see all this, huge army coming towards the farm. Herschel is like, this is my farm, and I'm gonna defend it, and he grabs the all the guns and stuff. And then you have Rick and Carl are separate from the group, and they make their way into the barn. Cool scene in the barn where Rick calls him in, and then Carl drops the lighter. I thought that was really awesome. And then of course we get to see Laurie's losing her mind because she's worried about where everybody is. And everybody at the house is like, okay, abandoned freaking ship, when they see this huge army of zombies coming towards them. Sorry, I'm geeking out here a little bit. And then, we get to see where they all start, going off in their different directions. Everybody just loses their minds. It kind of goes. Herschel's like standing there with all the guns and just like, man, I mean, they said, I think, during Talking Dead that Rick's got the most zombie kills. I don't know about that, because in this episode, Herschel probably laid out maybe like 30 zombies at least. I mean, he's just sitting there just shooting them one after another, switching, reloading, boom, 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 my farm type thing. And it's reasonable to see that, because when you work your whole life towards something, especially a farmer, like their farm is their business. I have worked on a farm before, and they put all their, that's their business. Everything they have that's it. That's everything to them. You know what I mean? Like, well, of course they have their kids and their family stuff, but their farm is both where they live. It's their business, their cattle, everything is theirs. That's their business. So, that's their livelihood, their career. To see something like that happen, you would be. And I'm also glad that we got to see Herschel survive, go through, because I think he's a fantastic character. The actor's awesome, fantastic actor, just, man, just awesome stuff. Zombie kill of the week, there were so many, it's hard to say. Obviously, Michonne's, sword through the face of the zombie that was coming after Andrea. It was a first appearance kill, so you kind of have to go with that one. But at the same time, you get to see Herschel, and he's just laying them out one after another after another. I mean, if you want to call that a multi-kill, how many kills was that? Like a deca kill, or I don't know, like 20 or 30 kill zombies. So maybe you got to go with Herschel. I don't know. It's kind of hard to say. Anyway, we'll get into Michonne later on. I don't want to get off on a tangent. There's just so much to talk about. So yeah, we get to see that, and then they all pretty much. They flee, everybody leaves. We get Patricia's running, or Jimmy, goes to save Carl and Rick, which was a cool scene because it reminded me of the comic books. In the comic books, there's a scene in the second graphic novel where they're at this estates place. Basically, it's like a Wilshire, something like that. Estates, and it's like a gated community. So the houses are huge, and they're all big and beautiful, and $500,000, $100,000, $1 million houses. Just gorgeous place. And they get trapped inside a house, and some of the characters, I forget who exactly, because I don't think they're all, they're not in the TV show yet, so I'll forget about it, I won't mention them. But anyway, they jump out of off the roof to get onto the roof of the RV, and then they drive out. So I thought that was kind of cool that they kind of brought that in, that whole idea where Carl and Rick are up there, and then Jimmy drives up, Herschel's son. And then they jump on the top of the roof, and I was expecting them to drive away, and then you get the zombies just bash open the door, and Jimmy, gets eaten in it. Pretty cool death. I just remember his face, and he's just like, as they're biting down on him. So that was an awesome Awesome death, man, for him. It's about time. It's weird because usually movies do the opposite of what The Walking Dead does. If you look at this season, we've lost main characters all the way through. It's about time we lost some side characters that don't really do too much in the show. Jimmy, Patricia, they have barely had any lines in the show at all. They are side characters. They're not the main core group. The Walking Dead, we get to see everybody die. Nobody is safe. The main characters, the side characters, like everybody. So that was dope. Awesome stuff. Patricia, where Herschel's daughter Beth, I think that's her name. I think the one who was going to commit suicide was holding her hand there, and then she just starts getting eaten, and then Lori, they basically leave her there to die, and you just see like zombies just pile on top of her, so you can't even see her. Like you see the initial bite, and then she goes down, and then there's so many zombies, she just disappears. It's just like on top, like a football, like pile up just on top of her, just boom, and oh man, that was so cool. And then we get to see Lori and Beth, and who was it? They get into, what did they get into? Was it a truck, a blue truck? I'm trying to remember because there were so many different cars and stuff. You had Glenn and Maggie. They were in the was it a Ford, like a Focus type thing or Fusion or something? They were in that, and then you have Lori, Beth, and Andrea and Carol. So I thought Carol was going to die. I really did, but she ended up actually surviving. The scene that they showed in the on-air trailer was where she gets caught up against the like the shed type thing, and then we get to see Andrea come and rescue her, which was a really cool moment for her. And surprisingly, Carol gets away, but then Andrea gets kind of caught in the mess and gets left stranded there. They all leave her there, but what are you going to do? I mean, there's so many zombies. There's like hundreds there, so obviously you got to abandon ship. You got to get out of there. So that was cool to see. Then we got moving on from that. The group pretty much all goes their own ways and then circles back to the highway, and some good character development moments where we got Rick discussing with Herschel, and Herschel's trying to tell him about Carl, and Carl wants to go back for his mom and this kind of stuff, and they wait there, and then you get to see the group come back together again, even though there's not as many characters as there was before. I thought a cool scene too was T-Dog, actually, where he's like, let's just leave. Let's just screw him. Like, forget it. I got 2 girls with me. Forget it. I'm leaving. I'm not going back. And then Lori's basically got to be like, okay, I'm crazy. I'm going to jump out this car if you don't let me go. So he's like, oh, shit. So he goes back. So that was a cool scene, too. Pretty nice to see that. Interesting stuff on that part. And that kind of relates back to earlier in the season where T-Dog was he poisoned? Because he cut himself on the arm on a car, and I think he wasn't really poisoned, but he was he was unhealthy and he was sick because his body was trying to heal and stuff, and the heat and stuff, and he was like, let's just go, let's just leave him. He said that to Dale. It was kind of cool that they tied that in here where it's like, okay, now that he's got the chance to leave, he's like, screw this shit, I am out of here, I'm leaving. So I thought that was very in character and very kind of a neat little tie-in from the beginning to the end, that his character, he's still is the type of guy that if he gets a chance, he's out of there. So that was cool. So we get to see them all meet up again, get to see the scene with Andrea, and then of course Michonne shows up. She's from the comic books. I showed you guys in last week's review the figure I have of her from the Walking Dead line, where she slices up that zombie's head for Andrea, saving her, and you get to see. I thought that was definitely the coolest scene of the episode, and one of the coolest scenes of The Walking Dead we've ever seen. First appearance of Michonne. So she cuts the zombie's head in half, and then you get to see, and she's got the I didn't know if they were going to do this, because in the comic book it's like that. Basically she wears a cloak to keep herself so the zombies can't really smell her or anything, and then she's got a chain with 2 zombies that she's neutered, can't reproduce. And what she's done is she's cut their mouths open so they can't bite. And I think in the show, I can remember, it was too quick, but I think she cut off their hands, so they just had arms. I forget in the comic book if she cut off their fingers or was it all their hands. I don't really remember. But they're basically, yeah, they're neutered, and they just kind of walk along with her, and she's got the chain. Man, so cool, so cool. Such a geek out moment for anybody who's read the comic book. Just so well done. I thought it was cool too that I thought about this before. I was like, how are they going to put Michonne in the show, okay, but at the same time they don't have an actor for her, you know what I mean? Like, they don't have someone cast as far as we know and what's listed on the internet. There was no one cast for season 2 for Michonne. So who was it going to be? And I thought that it was cool that they, they didn't need to cast anybody, because what they did is they hid her so you couldn't see what she looked like. So now in the next season, whoever they cast will lift the cloak and be like, hey, how's it going? I just cut a zombie's head open. I've got 2 neutered zombies with me. What's going on? I'm Michonne. How you doing? This type of thing. So yeah, it was just, man, such a cool scene. And then, so we've got Rick and his dictatorship. Before we get into that, actually, I'll mention the thing with Lori. Lori is just like, man, like, I've said it before, I'll say it again. She was a bitch before, but when she pushes Rick off when he tells her that he killed Shane, words can't describe how much of a bitch Lori is. Like, she pushes him off when she caused the whole problem herself. She should have, first of all, if he saved her, whatever, 2 weeks later, Rick's in a coma and he wakes up and comes and finds him. So you mean to tell me within a month, you can't spend, a month with a guy without sleeping with him and getting pregnant from him? I mean, come on. Like, she's just such a, I just hate Lori, man. She pushes him off, and that, oh, man, that was just not cool. Not cool at all. Not cool. So, I'm just counting down the days until Lori gets it, man. I'm just counting them down. I just can't wait until Lori either gets shot or eaten or something. I can't stand her. Obviously, that's the direction they're going for when she's doing stuff like this. Like, and even the way, like, she tells Daryl at the beginning of the episode, like, oh, I need you, go get him. Like, why don't you ask him? Daryl, could you please go get Rick? Or could you please go see if you can find Rick and Carl? I don't know where they are. Not, go get them, like, what is that? What are you, like, commanding everybody around? Yeah, I just, I hate that. And then at the end, we see Rick as the, the dictator saying, this is not a democracy anymore, So that was pretty cool. And I like the moment when he tells Lori that he killed him. And he's like, he basically says, like, it was just so, I don't know, for some reason to me, he's like, he came at me. And it just, to me, it triggered in my mind. I was like, come at me, bro. And then it's just in my mind, I see Rick just stab Shane, It's just like, came at me. Come at me, bro, boom, and I don't know. For me, that was just another geek out moment for me when he said that. He's just like, but he's totally serious when he said it. It's just the writing. He's just like, well, he came at me, and I just, so that was cool. And then he tells the group, and then of course, I said it a long time ago, months ago. Check my channel if you don't believe me. Everybody is infected. Dr. Jenner was the one who told him it. I knew it. So, the other characters are a little bit mad that Rick didn't, tell them that everybody's infected. But Jenner was a madman. There's no way Rick would have known for sure that Jenner was right. Because, Jenner was crazy. He's trying to blow everybody up. And he's like, I'm helping you by killing you. He's crazy. So you can't trust what he said until he actually saw it himself, and then he tells everybody. I suppose he could have mentioned it to him and said, oh, Jenner said yada, yada, yada. But for the sake of, the TV show and having a good season finale, you put that in there too. So that was very cool. But, we already knew that, but it was just nice to see it, brought up and to see that get, again, tied back in. The writers of the show have really done a good job with tying characters moments back to other things that happened in the past. The T-Dog, let's just go, because that's been foreshadowed at the beginning of the season. So I love to see that kind of foreshadowing and, how they, tie everything in like that. This is very, very cool. And then, you get to see Carl crying because Shane's dead and all that. Man, just a very, very awesome moment at the end where Rick's just kind of like, looking at everybody and he's like, I killed my best friend to keep you guys safe. That was just just a really, really, really cool moment for everybody there. And then we zoom up and we get to see what looks like the prison. I assume it is the prison. And for those of you guys who don't know, the actual premise of The Walking Dead originally, when Robert Kirkman was writing it, this was published, is that he was at the beginning, they were going to find a high school, okay, and they were going to fortify a high school. For some reason, he changed it to a prison because I don't know why exactly, but it seems like it's just so much of a better place to, fortify. Like you've got like, multiple fences in a prison. You've got lookout towers. You've got, like the place is so secure. It's unbelievable. I mean, breaking in for you is probably going to be harder than keeping zombies out afterwards. Herschel's still alive, so that's cool. Maybe he'll be able to create some food and farm or something for them, get his equipment out there or something. We'll see what happens. But yeah, definitely very excited that they're at the prison. You guys who have not read the comic books, they stay at the prison for a long time. They stay at the prison for, I think it's about something along the lines of 35, 40 issues, something like that. So it's a long time. And right now in the comic book, we are at about issue, I want to say about 11, 12, something like that, 11 or 12. That's it. We're just at issue like 12 of the comic book. There's 93 issues, you know, to go through. So obviously there's lots of stuff to get into for the next few seasons. And the prison will become a home for them, I think, for quite a while. Probably, I'm going to make a prediction. I think the prison will be home to them for at least 2 seasons. At least 2 seasons. But we'll see how everything goes down with the governor and that kind of stuff. For those of you guys who don't know, he's probably the leader of that other group that Randall was a part of. Maybe Merle will be in there. We'll see what happens with that. So that'll be very exciting next season. Love the fact that Michonne joined the group. Very cool. Andrea probably will survive now that she's with Michonne. I think she'll be okay. And just so cool to see Michonne with just a cool idea with the zombies, you know, attached to the chain and stuff. Just so awesome, man. I absolutely love it. I mean, it's a little comic booky. It's a little unrealistic. This is a zombie show. Obviously, it's going to be unrealistic. You know, I mean, we can talk about infections and this and that, and the other thing, and, you know, from a scientific perspective, but it's a zombie show, okay? It's not realistic, you know, but they try to make it as realistic as possible, which I think is good because the effort does matter. You can tell that the effort is there to make it realistic, to have these characters dying all the time and these things happening. Oh, man. Very, very, very cool stuff. This episode was just heavy, man. Heavy packed with stuff from the beginning to the end with coolness. The intro being one of the best intros we've ever had. Seeing the city, you know, all that stuff, the scenery, the shots, beautiful. The zombies walking, the herd, everything. Oh, man, just such a great episode. You know, middle of the episode, get to see them flee the farm, abandoned ship, everybody get the hell out of here. So cool. And then at the end, you know, getting to see Michonne and the prison and the group. That's a perfect episode, guys. That's an absolutely perfect episode. I'm going to give this episode a 10 out of 10. Perfect. I don't really think, like, in terms of what is the best episode overall of The Walking Dead so far, I mean, you know, it's a matter of your opinion, really, because I think that the Shane death episode, last episode, Better Angels, Season 2, Episode 12, was freaking perfect. This episode, perfect. You know, I have no complaints. This episode was so heavy with so much stuff that happened. And they handled it all well. Everything was shot well. Everything looked good. You know, the zombies all looked sweet. All the zombie kills were good. Man, just an amazing episode. This is the most action-packed episode of The Walking Dead we've probably ever had. Suspenseful, action-packed, you know, frightening, a sense of uncertainty about who's going to make it, who's not. I mean, halfway through the episode, you get the sense of, like, helplessness, you know, like there's no hope, you know, for anybody because they're just all over the place, you know, like, are they going to find each other again, or any character's going to get lost, and then you end up having Andrea lost, which is kind of strange because out of everybody I think of, I wouldn't think that Andrea would end up being the one who's separated from the group, but she ends up being, going that way, so, but definitely very, very good stuff. Most exciting episode, action-packed, best opening ever, I think, just overall, one of the best episodes of The Walking Dead ever. I can understand that anybody would say this is their favorite episode. My favorite episode, I still have to say, is the Shane episode, but that's just because that was so long in the making and built up and just such a perfect end. And Shane was probably my favorite character, so just such a perfect end to his character. This episode, you know, you can't ask for more. This episode was amazing. After that, did they top it? I mean, I guess they did, but still my favorite episode personally is the death of Shane, Better Angels. But Beside the Dying Fire was amazing too. Just going to go down the list of my notes here, guys, make sure I mentioned everything because there was a lot of stuff that happened. Let's see. So yeah, we're all infected. The you know, the Jenner told me thing, that was pretty cool too. Lori going from a normal bitch to supercalifragilistic bitch. I think that's pretty much it. I mean, I try to mention everything that happened that I want to say. There's just so much stuff. I think I did a pretty good job. We're going on 24 minutes, so I'll call the video here, guys. more videos to come soon. Just because The Walking Dead is over doesn't mean I'm going to stop doing Walking Dead videos. Going to be doing discussion topics, going to be doing lots of different topics. I'll show you guys here. I want to thank everybody, all of my subscribers and everybody who's been watching. I want to show you guys a sheet here that I made notes, basically, of ideas that people have left me. And to let you guys know, when you send me a private message with a good idea, I will note it down, and if it's something that I feel like I can, talk about, I can discuss, I will do so. I will discuss in the show. So upcoming, I'm going to have some more upcoming pretty soon. Obviously exciting stuff. Some videos I'm thinking about doing right now are Season 2 versus Season 1, thoughts, opinions, discussion about which was probably the better season of The Walking Dead. A Michonne character spotlight from the comic books, letting you guys know, people who don't read comic books, I know most of you guys, you don't actually read comic books. So, that's cool. I got no problem with that. I'll do a synopsis from the comic books and bring you up to speed on Michonne and a lot of the stuff that goes on with her in the comics and who she is, all that kind of stuff. So I think that'll be cool, and lots of other discussion topics. If you have any more ideas, guys, send them to me. And like I said, if I can talk about them and I feel confident enough to do a video about it, I will do it. That's it for this season, guys. Absolute great season. Oh, another video I'm going to do is a review of the entire season. So I'll look back on all of Season 2. That's it for this one, though, guys. Later.